Hello everyone and welcome back to the Sahara Desert. Kid you not, we're actually in the UK, but my word, second heat wave of the year. It's pretty darn warm. So we're heading off early birds to the gallops. I say early birds, we had to wait for the Tesco delivery to arrive. So not quite as early as we'd hoped, but there is a bit of a nice breeze and it's not too hot now. So today's video, I'm gonna walk you through my final fitness run for both the girls before we head off to Frickley, which is our badminton qualifier. Do you reckon you're gonna qualify, Dee? Okay, that's a look away, it's not looking good. Jam Bam, look at me if you're gonna qualify. Huh. So now we've determined that neither of the mares are planning on qualifying. I'm really pleased that I've put all this work into getting them nice and fit. Anyway, I've had so many requests about doing a video of how I get my horses fit. Now, admittedly, it's not been the best fitness regime leading up to Frickley because, like I said, we've had heat waves. Mum was poorly for a week, so we had to miss a week. I was away in Cornwall. So it has been a little bit rough and ropey, but they are actually feeling really good. Last time I galloped them, I was really chuffed with how they were feeling. But I'm gonna talk you through what I do for their final gallop before an event. Frickley, I believe, is quite known for being a bit hilly and quite long and technical. These are just things I've heard on the grapevine. I will be able to confirm in a week's time when we go. So I do want to make sure that they are feeling good. So the plan is to basically talk you guys through what we do in prep for an event. Maybe I'll do it more in an ideal situation because I can actually show you days and timings. There are days where you're best to gallop your horse in terms of when it will have the best effect before an event, so we'll talk a little bit about that and also how much we do. But we've got to bear in mind that today it is a bit hotter than what the horses are normally used to, so we probably won't do quite as much as I might do before another event. Anyway, hopefully it's interesting for you guys. Jamie's going to gallop because apparently she's still aquaphobic. Is that the right terminology for being scared of water? I don't know. And Dee Dee's gonna go for a swim. So we'll get them loaded and then I'll talk you through what we do. Okie dokie, so we're ready to go galloping, Jam, and Dee is in Daz's capable hands. So we'll split and meet up later. Mum's got the big camera. Wait. Jam's like, I want to swim. I want to swim, please. Okay guys, so passed over to phone cam. So we're really lucky where we come. Some friends of ours have a gallops and also a canter track. And you may well know, they have a grass gallops as well, but obviously it's too hard to go on the grass gallops right now. So at the minute, I'm on the canter track, which you can see here. Nice big field. I don't actually know how big this is, but it's pretty large. Like you can get a speedy canter going on this. So this is where I come to warm up. It's like literally just over the road. I do about 10 minutes walking with them. Sorry, had a horse fly. And then we'll do about, I'd say 7 minutes trot, and then they canter a lap each way just to make sure that they're really warmed up. Obviously it's so important. That's why I do so long walking, because you do need to get all of their joints warm. It's a hot day, but that doesn't actually make that much of a difference. You just want to get everything moving to try your best to prevent injuries. So I will warm Jam Bam up and I'll head over to the GoPro footage. So first little note to self is to not use the time-lapse feature again on the GoPro because it's so jolty. But basically my main thing for the warm-ups is to do things gradually and to do things equally, aka make sure you're doing the same on both reins. This applies whether you're warming up for galloping, dressage, jumping. You don't want them to be one-sided at all, so just try and keep it as equal as possible on both reins and yeah, do enough of it. Okay, so after we'd warmed up, it was obviously time to head over to the main gallops. Now, again, please excuse my GoPro angle because it's basically just Jam's ears, But you do get the gist of it, and I'm going to talk through what's going to be hopefully some interesting stuff. So first things first, the nitty gritty of it all. These gallops are a surface carpet gallops, as you can see, and they're just over half a mile long. They go up a steady hill, which you can't see, and then it flattens out at the top. So it's really good gradient training for them. I love when gallops have a bit of up and down because it makes us practice for cross country. So usually my routine would be to go up 3 times and then canter back 2 of those times, about halfway. I don't canter down the steep hill. However, today, as I mentioned, it's hotter than usual, so we went up twice and 1 of those times we cantered back down. But this did still work out at over 5 minutes of fast work, which is your kind of cross-country course length at my level. So there are a few things when you're doing fast work with your horses that you can look out for to gauge how fit they are and to also improve how you train them. The first thing is breathing, and it's easier to let you guys listen before I explain this. And that was it. Did you spot Jam's change in breath there? So I'm going to do an absolutely terrible job of trying to explain this because you know me guys, science is not my forte. But when I was 15, I started working for a 5-star rider who was on the New Zealand Olympic team. And she was amazing at teaching me about fitness and about breath. So what just happened there was we were galloping along and then Jam took a kind of deeper breath. She used more of her lung capacity. So firstly, this shows fitness. So you want to try and listen to your horse's breathing, and when you hear that first deep breath, take note of where they take it, because the fitter they are, the longer they'll go before actually taking it. Now, the really interesting thing that my boss taught me at the time was that you can almost train your horses to take them, and when they do, it gives them more oxygen and supposedly makes it easier for them to concentrate. Now, she swore that the New Zealand team, when they were going cross country, would train their horses before a big combination that was really important or something that was very strenuous for the horse, that they could do a half halt and they could make them take this breath to give them more oxygen to supposedly help them through the combination. I don't know how true that is, but she absolutely swore by it, and they've done very well eventing. So take from that what you will, guys. That's obviously an extremely technical way of using horses' breathing, but for me, I do find it a really good indicator of fitness. So I just take note as to when she does it. So for example, today it was at some random white railings, which is good because earlier in the season she was doing it at a tree a few meters beforehand. So we're definitely improving. The next thing I want to talk about is the timing of the gallops. Now, obviously, top event riders take this incredibly seriously, and there's been a lot of research done, and they've kind of worked out that the optimum time of doing fast work for horses to make the most benefit to them is galloping every 5 days. This is obviously quite a lot for a B100 horse compared to a 5-star horse, but it can't help to take this advice and do it at a bit of a lesser level. Now, Lucinda Fredericks was incredible at teaching me about working backwards from an event, and it just suddenly made so much sense. So for example, Jam's due to go cross country on Saturday, so in theory you'd work 5 days back from that, and that would be her last gallop. Now, this was done on Sunday, so I'm only a day out because 5 days would have technically been Monday. As I said, we don't need to be as strict with our plan, so I'm pretty happy with that. This was a planned fast work day to be her last one, so it's worked out pretty nicely. You can then plan the rest of the month backwards, doing it every 5 to 6 days. When my horses are training for an important event, I'll do it about every 6 days. Obviously, if we're not training for an event, we don't do it nearly that much, and they just kind of get kept ticking over, going every few weeks.
Oh my goodness, I've just talked your ear off for the entire first go up. I'm so sorry guys, but I actually find this really interesting, so off I go again. So the next indicator I look for fitness is how keen they are to go up again, and Jamie showed me all the good signs there because she was pulling my arms out round the little turn circle, so that's a fab sign that she's keen to get going again. So obviously I spoke about the gradient training on this gallops, but it's also important to speak about the different sort of changes of pace. So it's important to bear in mind what you're training for, and for me it's going cross country, and we don't go one solid pace cross country. There's a lot of changes, so my galloping sessions are absolutely not about going as fast as you can for as long as you can. So you might be able to tell there I went off the pedal for a little bit and then pushed Jam on. This is important for so many reasons, not to mention the fact that it's not good for your horses to go full speed all the time purely based on their joints, but also you need to test your brakes, you need to see how much you've got in the tank. So I like to experiment and just play around with how much energy I've got. When she tells me she's tired, can she go on again? Can she come right the way back as if I was doing a coughing combination? It's important just to test all of these things out. So you can see now I'm coming to a stop, but a very slow stop. So this is the final thing I'm going to bore you with, but it's so important to not go from galloping to literally walking. So I start by cantering her a lot slower. I try and get her to stretch her neck down. We then go into a long and stretchy trot. I do this for as long as possible. When I know it's my last gallop, I'll make sure that I stop a little bit sooner than I usually would. It's all about trying to lower their heart rate in an effective but a safe way. You don't want to go from high heart rate to resting really quickly. So I try and do it as gradually as possible, similar to how we warmed up. You want to just do things slowly on the way down. So Jamie's had quite a nice long trot here before we near the end of the gallops, and then I let her go into walk. It's similar to us. If we do a sprint and then suddenly stop, we're not going to feel great 10 minutes later. So it's really important to just put this extra work in. We've come so far at this point, so you want to just make sure that your warm down is done properly. So I'll pass back over to my iPhone now because you must be sick to death of watching the GoPro footage. If anyone's still watching this, fair play to you, because that's quite a feat of listening to me talk about things that I don't really understand because they're so complicated.
Oh, pretty glad we're done and dusted. So hopefully I've done a good enough job of voice-overing that bit. But the main points to take away are when they do their deep breaths and also the warm down, I think is very important. So that is what I'm doing at the minute. So as I would have mentioned, I always like to trot them the last bit. I don't want to go from gallop to walk. I then took Jamie up there to do another little loop, and we're now just walking back alongside the gallops. So her walk off is probably about 15 minutes all in total, and that time is obviously really important. She does need to keep moving after she's galloped because you want that lactic acid to kind of diffuse around their body. Sorry guys, you know I'm rubbish with sciencey stuff, but you basically don't want to stop them straight away because then the lactic acid will just build up and they'll be so stiff and sore the next day. Similar to us after we do a workout, like you want to stretch off. So that's what we're doing now. Once I finish filming, I'll make sure that she's going a bit sort of longer and low, and I'll just bend her neck a little bit side to side just to try and make her feel as good as possible tomorrow. The next super important bit obviously is once I get her back is to monitor her breathing. So we do that by looking at her nostrils and looking at her flanks down there because you can just see how much they're moving, and you want to just take note of it every time you gallop because obviously that's a sign of their fitness. The quicker they recover, the fitter they are. If you wanted to go the whole hog, you could take their heart rate. Maybe you could test their digital pulse. That might give you an idea, but breathing is enough for us. So you just want to make note of it every time you gallop, and then hopefully it takes less time for them to recover. So for example, now she is still breathing heavier than if she was, you know, her resting heart rate, but she's come back pretty quickly. Oh gosh, we did a spook and I'm a very long rein. Just had to short my reins then. So yeah, it's looking pretty good now. Another thing I like to look at for an indicator of how fit they are is how keen they are to go again. She 100% wanted to go again, but obviously I'm making the call because it's a bit warmer than we're used to. So it's just all these things that are really good to look out for, and it will give you a good indication of how fit your horse is. Obviously feel is another thing. Anyway, most important thing now is to get her back and get her washed off. Again, so important with galloping in general, but especially in the heat. You want to get them as cool as possible. Best way to do that is to hose them or throw buckets over them, and then don't scrape them, and do like 10 to 20 second intervals of walking. So like throw a bucket over them, walk them a circle for 10 seconds, throw another bucket, and just keep doing that until when the water on their belly, if you like scrape it underneath like that, until that feels cool. Because when you do it the first few times, it's literally like bath water. Horses get so hot. So that's the plan now. I'm going to finish stretching her off properly and throw you over to see how Dee Dee's getting on. And Dee Dee's having a nice cooling wash off before she goes in the pool. Yeah? Oh, she's grumpy about it. She's not a big fan of being hosed, are you? Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Come on. Okay, so Dee Dee's time for fitness now, and all the Sherlock Holmes out there will see that she is swimming, not galloping. So this is only Dee's third time going swimming. She's still relatively inexperienced, and you'll see here she accidentally slam dunks herself and does pop a nose underwater, which does throw her off a tiny bit. But she's actually really enjoying going swimming. You can see her ears are always pricked. She's keen to get in the pool, which is a great sign. So as you guys know, Dee has been doing more swimming recently. She does have mild arthritis in her hocks, so it's an amazing way of getting fitness into her without having the strain of actually galloping. Now, I wanted to have a test of this to see how much it was working. So her fast work last week, I galloped her, and I could really notice that her fitness had improved just from doing the 2 swims before. So we did 5 lengths today, which is good. That's the most she's ever done, and that's the equivalent of well over a mile worth of cantering / galloping. So she ended up actually doing more work than Jam. She did have a 6th run in her, but we decided because it was hot, because she's still new to swimming, it was best not to. And for their last gallop before you go eventing, you don't actually want to do them too hard, because realistically you're not going to make a great deal of difference to their fitness at this stage. So it was all about her having a great time and just making sure that she wasn't blowing too much, which she wasn't. Right, back home. Ponies galloped and swam really well. Dee Dee did 5 lengths, which is fantastic. Jam Bam was awesome. She came back really quickly. I'm feeling really good. That's a very positive last gallop before Frickley, so we're 6 days away now. Stay tuned, make sure you subscribe, because the rest of this week I'm gonna be doing some more updates about how I'm preparing for Frickley, and then obviously make sure you watch the Frickley vlog. Right, I live, laugh, love you. I'm gonna get the paddling pool now.